Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that's got the whole world buzzing, Bitcoin. Specifically, could this digital gold really hit, wait for it, $10 million? dollars?
$10 million. That's ambitious, to say the least.
It sounds crazy, right? But that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We're dissecting the analysis of Clemente Acosta, a crypto educator who's making headlines with this bold prediction.
And he's not just throwing out a random number, is he?
Not at all. We dug into one of his videos, and he actually lays out some really compelling arguments. It all starts with shifting our perspective.
Mhm.
See, most people think about Bitcoin like it's just another tech company, right? Like it's Uber or Airbnb disrupting a single industry.
Right, just another player in the game?
Exactly. But Acosta says that's not even close to the whole picture. He argues that Bitcoin has the potential to be a fundamental shift in how we understand and value things.
It's like comparing the invention of the internet to just improving the postal service, isn't it?
Acosta actually makes a historical comparison that really resonated with me. He talks about the shift from the gold standard to fiat currency.
Which was a seismic shift in global economics when you think about it. For centuries, gold was the bedrock of value.
And it's so easy to forget that in our world of Venmo and Apple Pay, right? So Acosta uses this really clever analogy to help illustrate his point about Bitcoin's potential. Imagine you're on a beach and you see a tiny palm tree seedling just starting to grow.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Would you believe that one day that tiny seedling could be as tall as those massive mature palm trees swaying in the breeze?
Probably not. It just seems so small compared to those giants.
Exactly. And that's what most people miss about Bitcoin. It's easy to look at where it is now and underestimate its long-term growth potential. Like that little seedling, it's just getting started.
Okay, so we have this potentially revolutionary technology, and it's got the power of exponential growth on its side. But how do we get from a tiny seedling to a $10 million Bitcoin? What's the mechanism here?
That's where things get really interesting. So when Acosta talks about Bitcoin reaching $10 million, he's looking at its market cap. That's the total value of all Bitcoin in existence.
Right, so it's not about the price of a single Bitcoin going up that high, but the entire market growing to that massive scale. Makes sense.
To put that into perspective, he compares Bitcoin's potential market cap growth to some of the biggest, most established asset classes out there. Things like gold, real estate, the bond market, things people consider safe, reliable stores of value.
And these are huge, massive markets, right?
Exactly. And this is where it gets really mind-blowing. He's not saying Bitcoin is going to completely replace these assets, but
He's saying that even capturing a small slice of those pies would be huge.
exactly.
And he actually walks through the numbers, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, to be honest.
It really is. When you see those calculations, suddenly $10 million doesn't seem quite as outrageous, does it? But here's what I find most compelling about Acosta's argument. It's not just about Bitcoin becoming this dominant force that takes over the world. It's about understanding the potential scale of its impact.
So it's about challenging our assumptions about what's possible, right?
Exactly. But Acosta doesn't just stop at the numbers. He dives into the underlying forces that he thinks are driving Bitcoin's adoption. And one of his key points is this. Traditional fiat currency, the kind we use every day, is losing its relevance in an increasingly digital world.
That's a bold statement.
It is. But think about it for a second. The way we interact with money has changed dramatically over the past few decades, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I used a check.
Exactly. We're living in a world of instant transactions, online shopping, digital wallets.
Yeah.
But the underlying systems that govern our money.
They haven't really kept up, have they?
Exactly. And that's the gap that Acosta is highlighting. He poses this critical question. In a globalized digital economy, what are the truly viable alternatives to the way fiat currency functions today?
Yeah, and he really makes you think about it when he starts unpacking the potential downsides of some of the proposed alternatives, like going back to the gold standard.
Right. Can you imagine trying to buy something online with a bar of gold? Like, hold on, let me just slice off a gram of gold for this t-shirt.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't work.
Exactly. It'd be a logistical nightmare. And then on the flip side, you've got CBDCs, central bank digital currencies,
Which, if anyone listening has been following along, knows we've done some deep dives on those too. Plenty to unpack there.
and those come with a whole other set of concerns. Control, transparency, privacy. Those are some big question marks when you're talking about giving that much centralized power over a digital currency. Makes you wonder.
Right. Like, does that really solving the problem? So, okay, gold's clunky for a digital age. CBDCs raise all sorts of red flags, and suddenly Bitcoin starts to look a little more appealing, doesn't it?
It does make you see it in a new light, that's for sure. And this is where Acosta's analogy really clicked for me. He talks about Bitcoin being like a collectible.
Oh, like those first edition Pokemon cards everyone's digging out of their basements. Those are worth a fortune now.
Exactly. Remember when those were just things kids traded after school? Now some of those are seen as legitimate investments. And he says Bitcoin is going through a similar kind of evolution, shifting from a niche technology for a select group of early adopters to a more widely recognized store of value. It's still early days, but
But we're seeing signs of that shift already, right?
Mhm.
I mean, look at how many institutional investors are adding Bitcoin to their portfolios now. BlackRock, Fidelity, even some governments are getting in on the action.
Absolutely. These are major players in the financial world, and they're recognizing Bitcoin's potential role as a hedge against inflation and uncertainty. And not only that, but we're seeing more and more companies accepting Bitcoin for payments too.
Right, like you can buy a Tesla, book a flight, even grab a pizza with Bitcoin in some places.
Exactly. So it's gaining traction both as a speculative asset and as a practical currency. It's not just about the technology itself anymore. It's about how it's being woven into the fabric of the existing financial system.
And how it might even reshape that system in the future. Which brings us back to that $10 million prediction. Now, it's important for us to acknowledge here, nobody's got a crystal ball.
We can't predict the future.
Exactly. Bitcoin is incredibly volatile, and past performance is definitely not a guarantee of future results.
Investing in anything, especially something as new and constantly changing as cryptocurrency, always comes with risks.
Absolutely. Always do your own research, understand those risks, make informed decisions. We are not financial advisors.
We're just here to explore these ideas, spark some curiosity, and maybe challenge some assumptions along the way.
Exactly. And that's what I find so captivating about Acosta's analysis. He's pushing us to think beyond just the headlines and the day-to-day fluctuations of the market. He's asking us to grapple with the underlying principles.
The what ifs.
Right. What if we're witnessing the early stages of a massive transformation in how our world functions? Because I don't know if you remember, but it wasn't that long ago that people were saying the internet was just a fad.
Oh, I remember those days. And look at us now. Can you imagine life without the internet?
It's mind-blowing, really. And that's why Acosta's message resonated with me. He's not saying everyone needs to go all in on Bitcoin, but he is saying that it's worth paying attention to what's happening. It's worth educating yourself about the potential impact.
Because even if Bitcoin itself doesn't become this dominant force he's predicting, the underlying technology, the ideas it represents, they're already shaping the future of finance.
It's like having a front row seat to a technological revolution in progress. Whether you choose to participate or not, understanding what's at stake is crucial, you know?
It's about asking those what-if questions. What if Bitcoin does become a dominant store of value? What if it changes the way we think about money and finance? What if that tiny palm tree seedling on the beach really does grow into a towering giant?
Now, those are some thought-provoking questions to consider. It's like we get so stuck in our ways of thinking, you know?
Yeah.
We see the world as it is right now, and it's hard to imagine it being any other way.
Totally. But history is full of examples of people who dared to imagine something different, something beyond the status quo.
Exactly. Like, can you imagine if those early pioneers of flight had just looked at a bird and said, well, humans will never be able to do that.
We'd still be stuck on the ground.
Right. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Bitcoin's potential, the message we really want to leave you with is this. Don't just observe these shifts from a distance. Jump in. Explore the possibilities. Engage with those what-if questions.
What if Acosta is right? What if Bitcoin does hit that $10 million mark? What would that mean for you? For your finances? For the world around you?
It's a lot to consider, but that's what these deep dives are all about, right? Taking the time to really explore an idea from all angles, challenge our own assumptions, and hopefully spark some interesting conversations along the way.
And hey, maybe even inspire some of you to go out and do your own research, your own deep dives.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, the most exciting discoveries are often the ones we make ourselves. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the ideas that are shaping our future.